The Cleveland Browns and rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson traveled to Denver for his first career road start. We're going to break it all down now on your latest Locked On Browns.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB and the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, as you all know, and I'm my 7th season with you all here hosting Locked On Browns, and I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. If you're not part of the everyday crowd by now, you certainly need to rectify that, and the best way to do that is by subscribing to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. Cleveland Browns traveling 4:05 start in Denver Sunday. Browns, obviously a difficult place to play. First road start for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Some injury news. Marquise Goodwin still has not practiced with his concussion issue. Therefore, Marquise Goodwin will not be part of the festivities Sunday in Denver. Denzel Ward, no practice action this week. The Browns have not really given up much yet to this point about the shoulder injury Denzel sustained against Pittsburgh Steelers. All we know to this point is that Denzel Ward is out. Obviously, a difficult road for the Browns, as Denzel has been lights out this year at the cornerback position. But you invest a lot in the cornerback position, and obviously the Browns should be prepared with plenty of ammunition at that position. Anthony Walker Jr., obviously it seemed grim last Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony Walker did return to a limited practice on Friday. Anthony Walker will carry a questionable designation, as will free safety Juan Thornhill. Did not play last week against the Steelers. Again, the question here, and look, it's Denver, Colorado, and it's altitude issues. The question is, how much blood flow can you get to the affected areas for both of these players? It's not easy to do it in a place like Denver. So we'll see how it plays out for both guys and whether or not they are able to, cut the bill and be able to, answer the bell here on Sunday for the Browns in a much needed game against the Denver Broncos. And the importance of Juan Thornhill returning would be even bigger. As we all know, Rodney McLeod had surgery and is now currently out for the rest of the 2023 season. Footnote to that, however, though, and we didn't record yesterday, and I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving with their friends, their family, football, food, ambiance, relaxation. That is what it is all about. So I hope everybody had a great day. On Wednesday, the Browns did announce, obviously, as we all know, we got to hear from Joe Flacco. But the Browns did announce the signing of another former Super Bowl champion and a guy who was part of 4 Super Bowl teams for the New England Patriots, Delaware native, former Rutgers University Scarlet Knight, safety Duron Harmon. Duron Harmon has played over 10 seasons in the NFL. Very similar path to Rodney McLeod, as he's a player that has excelled around the line of scrimmage, has excelled in covering tight ends, has excelled in deep coverage at the safety position. Maybe a little of the athleticism is lost on Duron Harmon. Interesting thing about Duron Harmon is that he was a guy that was not invited to the NFL Combine, still went on to be a top 100 pick, has had a crazy successful NFL career. He brings a ton of experience. Obviously, he brings playoff experience. He brings, Super Bowl experience. There is a lot that Duron Harmon brings to the table here. However, does he have the experience with Jim Schwartz and Rodney McLeod had? No, unfortunately not. But playing all those years for Bill Belichick should count for something. This was a really solid signing, and probably a really opportunistic one for the Browns, as the McLeod injury happened just as Duron Harmon seemed to be available. So the Browns were able to make this move, get a guy in here. I don't believe we'll see Duron Harmon on Sunday, but there could be an opportunity for Duron Harmon to be getting snaps with this Cleveland Browns defense sooner than later, no doubt. So a big move there for the Browns in the wake of losing a guy that was instrumental to this team and its success to this point. the Harmon signing is certainly one that we can all keep our eye on. It could be a difference maker for this team as it, moves on here through the closing 7 weeks of the regular season. With DeJuan Jones back at full capacity this week at practice, it does bring up the question for me, who starts at left tackle? This is something we brought up the last couple of weeks, but with DeJuan Jones not starting either week, it became rather obvious. But the question would be Geron Christian or James Hudson, who is your starting left tackle this week. We've talked a ton in the past about the Browns and their issues with teams and the odd defensive front. However, they were able to overcome the Baltimore Ravens 2 weeks ago, able to overcome the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. I'm assuming Geron Christian, and I'm not saying he's the be-all, end-all as to why the Browns were able to get these wins, but it's kind of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it theory. Geron Christian has been out there, has been succeeding for the last couple of weeks as the left tackle. You can remove James Hudson back into your backup inline blocking role. So I'm assuming that we are going to see Geron Christian remain the Browns left tackle on Sunday in Denver. And again, you can use the James Hudson, Nick Harris packages to hopefully reignite the Cleveland Browns running game. They certainly need it. DTR certainly needs it. Certainly something that can aid this team in a road game in a place in Denver that has a hostile environment. When the Browns are a successful team, or even in it as the current Denver Broncos are, you need to quiet down that crowd. And certainly the run game, and Minnesota took them to almost 5 yards per carry last Sunday night. You got to get that Cleveland Brown running game back on its feet, and hopefully Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, and maybe even Pierre Strong can all be part of getting that revitalized and making lives easier for rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson in his first career road start. Myles Garrett had spoke of it today. Several players had spoke about Deshaun Watson, just checking in as he's out in LA recovering from his shoulder surgery. After the game on Sunday, the Cleveland Browns will be joining Deshaun Watson in Los Angeles as the Browns travel to Los Angeles after Denver for the next game, road game, obviously in LA. The Browns are going out to LA early. They're going to set up shop, get some sun, get some warm weather, and they're going to take over UCLA for the week, get all their workouts in there. Should be a little bit of a coup for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Can kind of feel like the big man of the team as he heads back to a place where he spent so much time in Westwood section of Hollywood as for the former UCLA quarterback. So Browns headed out of town for quite a bit after Thanksgiving. Had their festivities, had their food, now traveled to Denver, and they're going to take it out even further to LA as they prepare after the Denver game for the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to continue on here, your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate everybody for being along the ride. We're going to get to some thoughts here on the Cleveland Browns offense, but first, a word from our folks at FanDuel. FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And for your second listen, make sure you check on Locked On Sports today, 24/7, 365 streaming of all your Locked On shows. And hopefully as the Cleveland Browns remain successful, you can see a lot more of this lovely face over there. We talked a lot, and I mentioned here that obviously Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going into his first career road start in the NFL. Certainly not ideal to be going to a place like Denver. But as far as a quarterback within the AFC North, certainly a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. We know at times, obviously, Baltimore has been a house of horrors. We know Pittsburgh has been a house of horrors. You don't have Cincinnati on the schedule till week 18. So DTR is going to travel west not exactly to where he's from, but maybe closer to where he's from. Of course, Nevada kid, by way of UCLA to the NFL and the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is an interesting one here because, the Cleveland Browns, yes, the key is to try and win every game. And for the Browns, obviously the motto has been remain 1-0, do everything we can this week to go 1-0. But eventually you're going to have to start developing this guy. And if you want to have success and, hopefully A, make the playoffs, B, have success in the playoffs, he's going to have to be a contributor. And, we saw at times last week, they kind of held him back a little bit. Had no choice in the fourth quarter, but basically just to let the young kid go out there and rip it. And, to his credit, he was phenomenal. 4 for 4, got the team into position, smart enough to get his running back up off the ground, spike the ball. And what has been a key factor for the Cleveland Browns this year is hand things over to Dustin Hopkins. And D-Hop usually seems to be the difference maker for this team this season. But you need to continue. And, the Browns, they're going to get a boost. Obviously, like I mentioned, DeJuan Jones is going to be back this week to full duty. So you should have DeJuan at the right tackle, Jerron Christian at left tackle. Probably continue where you've been using Hudson as, a blocking tight end, which has worked out really, really well. Sprinkle in some Nick Harris at the fullback position. Browns need to get the run game going. They need to get it going to help out DTR, who now is going to face 2 road starts. Certainly this one, and then the following week in Los Angeles. But this has been a key factor of this team, regardless of who the quarterback has been. And we have already seen 3, as we know. And hey, there possibly certainly could be a 4th quarterback at some point playing under center for this team. But this team, and it's kind of been the bread and butter, is that they've been able to, whatever quarterback is on the field, run the ball to make said quarterback's life easier. That is one thing they did not really do that well last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Granted, the Steelers know them and know them well. The Steelers certainly just basically said, we're going to attack the run, make the rookie beat us. The Browns got into some tough situations where, the down and distance wasn't in favor of anything. So they continued to run the ball and weren't chinking away at the yardage. They weren't making it, obviously any favorable matchups. So there were a lot of drives where the Browns just continued to run the ball, understanding that we're going to have no success. You're not going to be able to continue to do this. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and I think if anything, if you take away from that final drive of Pittsburgh Steelers game, is you got to at some point just say, look, we got to put a little bit more faith in the kid. And look, you speak glowingly of him, which it seems that everybody does. Everyone wants to talk about the effort he's put in, how his maturity has gotten better. Not that it was ever a question. I'm not saying that, but you have to learn how to be a quarterback within the NFL. And obviously Dorian has done a fantastic job with that. Continues to put in the work. And even now that he is the starter, just, working his tail off even more. You saw, the emotional side of him, and the hard work coming to fruition, with him kind of breaking down on Sunday against the Steelers. And look, I'll see emotion like that all day long. That is what I want to see, because the effort that goes in to everything to be prepared to go out and get your job done and get your team a win, I think people can't even fathom it. So, DTR's, emotional side, I'll take 53 guys who feel that way about having success. That is what it is all about. But the run game, look, it's got to be key. It certainly does. And I'm not saying you're not going to throw the ball, but that has to be key. And the Browns running game is still strong. You still have 3 decent backs who can make some plays for you. That's got to get going. And, Denver, I wouldn't put them on the par of the defense of Pittsburgh. I wouldn't put them on par of the defense with the Baltimore Ravens. But you ran really well against the Ravens, who are considered one of the top couple of defenses in the NFL. You struggled against Pittsburgh, and the numbers for Pittsburgh are a little murky because a lot of their success comes from their turnovers. Denver just gave up 5 yards per pop last week to the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm not saying the Minnesota Vikings run game is, elite, but what I am saying is the Minnesota Vikings game may not be as good as the Cleveland Browns when it's a top shelf. So I think the Cleveland Browns should be able to get the game back on track here. The passing game, and look, there were a lot of incompletions, but you factor in 7 drops, and some of those were David Njoku. Certainly, some of those were Elijah Moore. You got to tighten it up. And look, drops are the worst thing in the world, and sadly, sometimes they come in bunches. But they have to get this better. They have to get this right, because you can't keep banking You can't keep banking on the rookie quarterback to do all these things for you and not being able to bail him out. The kid gets the ball on you, gets the ball in your hands, gets the ball on your numbers. You got to help the kid out and make the catch. That is just the way it goes. You need him to succeed. So in order for him to succeed, you guys got to make the simple plays for him. He will learn more about throwing with appropriate velocity. He will learn more about proper ball placement. He's only going to get that experience the more he plays, and the other thing is starting to understand where some of these guys like these balls. Some guys like the ball right around their head. Some guys prefer it in the breadbasket. You saw a couple balls yesterday in some of the Thanksgiving games, where coverage dictates where the ball is going to be placed, where the ball is going to be thrown. It's not always going to be on the numbers. That's not the way it works, and especially if that's the window of opportunity. Sometimes that's what you're working with in the NFL. So if that means it's going to be back here, that means it's going to be up here. You got to catch it. It's just the way it works. And obviously you saw that David Njoku was apologetic to Coach Kevin Stefanski, was apologetic to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and smartly from the rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Hey, man, you got to apologize to me. It's all good. That's what you do. It was the rookie quarterback. Years later, you become the man. You can expect more from your players. But when you're the rookie, you kind of just shrug along and say, hey, it's all good, man. Trust me, it's all good. You'd love to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson get his first career touchdown pass. These are things, milestones you're starting to look for the young man. We've got his first victory under his belt. Hopefully maybe his first road victory. Find a way to get more balls to Amari Cooper. Find a way to keep this mojo going with Elijah Moore. And even though there were drops from David Njoku, there was, obviously some nice, repertoire between DTR, between David Njoku. The only other thing is maybe now to find a way to get Jerome Ford involved. That was one tough thing from the Pittsburgh game as far as the aspect of the Browns' success on the offensive side of the ball is a player who's kind of been excelling for them here this season, Jerome Ford. They did not find a way to get him involved. So much so they didn't even play much in the second half. And look, Kareem Hunt has been doing a yeoman's effort. And, nobody wants to do the work that Kareem Hunt has to do. Nobody wants to wear the hard hat. Nobody wants to have to take the pounding that a guy like Kareem Hunt does. But, that extra step that we all thought he lost in 2022, it didn't return in 2023. But he is running physical. He is running hard. And obviously that is something they need. But the Browns got to get some sort of, passing game going with the running backs along with Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and certainly David Njoku. And somebody else in that wide receiver room has got to find a way to step up, whether it's David Bell, whether it's Cedric Tillman. You can't just have the same three players involved because smart defense coordinators are going to find a way to take these guys away, and you're going to have to figure it out. There also is, as DTR gets more comfortable, him realizing and remembering how athletic he is, and that even if nothing's there, he's still got one solid calling card. He's got his athletic ability. He's got his running ability. And that's certainly something that could be a difference maker each and every week. And certainly something for him could help we keep the sticks moving in a pivotal road game like this one coming up Sunday in Denver. We're going to get to our third and final segment. I'll give you a prediction, all that good stuff. But now, obviously, a word from the fine folks over at BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all know this time of year, as much fun as it can be, relaxation, family, friends. The issue is, not everybody can be here all the time. This time of year can be a lot. I'm certainly one that experiences it, and it's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it, knowing when you go to your old stomping grounds for your favorite holidays and knowing there's going to be people that just sadly and unfortunately are no longer with you. But you can try to add something new and positive to your life, and that can counteract some of these feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and change, something to look forward to, somebody that's going to listen to you, try to understand you. It helps you make you feel grounded, and it gives you the tools to manage everything that is going on with you. You guys know I've dealt with, issues, and, within 11 months, I lost my older brother and my father. These guys were pivotal in my life. Not only did I work with these gentlemen and spend a lot of time with them, they were obviously my oldest brother and my father. They were guys that I went to with any decision I made in my life. So not having them around as my family gets bigger, my kids get older, and not having to have those two guys who are so important to me to be able to see all that, it certainly is difficult for me. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, I suggest you give BetterHelp a try. It's done entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch a therapist at any time for no additional charge. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate each and every one of you who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And if you ain't on the bus yet, that's your own fault, because the best way to do that is to join and subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, the Denver Broncos, 4 straight wins. It's not bad. Cleveland Browns have 3 straight wins, as we know. And the thing, of course, here with Denver is the improved play of Russel Wilson. And look, the thing with Russel Wilson is he may never be the Russel Wilson he was with the Seattle Seahawks, a guy who was an MVP candidate year in, year out, a guy who was leading his team to Super Bowls, NFC championship games. And that, for now, it's all right. But the offense itself, it's not blowing you away. There is no elite dominant receiver, neither receiver. There is not a receiver for the Denver Broncos who has over 500 yards. But Cortland Sutton has been making clutch catches over the last few weeks. Bigger bodied receiver. We all remember back in 2019 when the Browns went out to Denver, miraculous touchdown catch he had in that game. I believe it was Denzel Ward in the coverage. He's still big, physical, great at catch point. And he's been a difference maker in the limited opportunities that the Denver Broncos have been going to him. Jerry Jeudy, and obviously there was, this was rumored that maybe Jerry Jeudy was going to be available on the trade deadline. Obviously, Denver didn't pull any triggers, and Denver's in a much, much better situation right now than they were when the talks were at the trade deadline. You look at their offensive line, there was a lot invested to it, whether it is monetary or whether it is draft wise. There is a lot in that offensive line. Left guard is a free agent. Right tackle is a free agent. Center, right guard, left tackle, all homegrown, all either making money or about to make some more money. The running game, with Williams, McLaughlin, they're good. The Browns have certainly seen better. The Browns have certainly stopped better. And you expect this Cleveland defense to set the tone. This has kind of been what it is, for this team and its success this year. And, you want to hopefully be able to slow down things. And it's weird to actually say this when we're talking about a player, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, who's got the career je ne sais quoi, if you do, that Russell Wilson has. But I think you're in a position where, you because you have this defense and you rush the passer so well and you throw off the timing so well, where you want to make Russell Wilson beat you. Sometimes that might be the one that comes back and bites you in the can and you may lose. But the Browns have so much success in these 3-and-outs, in these short defensive drives. You just want to keep pressuring. And the Browns have the ability to do that. The health at the defensive line position is good. There were some questions about Ogbonnaya Okoronkwo dealing with a groin issue the last couple of days. Did make it out to practice today. Obviously, Ogbo's got a bunch going on in his life. Brand new baby born about not even a week ago. Now he's going to actually go on the road here. So for Ogbo Okoronkwo, just looking to stack together strong positive weeks, which he's been able to do this year. He and Za'Darius, between those two and Miles, it's turned out to be a fantastic trio at the edge position. Alex Wright does not get enough love. He is a smart, technical football player. There is more success coming from a player like Alex Wright. We talked about all of this during his draft process. We talked about all of this when Alex Wright was eventually drafted and became a Cleveland Brown. He was a work in progress, obviously coming from a school like UAB, and they kind of moved him around inside, outside, wherever they had the need. It's actually aided him with the Cleveland Browns because the Browns are loving to do this right now under Jim Schwartz, just moving guys around and always keeping the offensive line on their toes, always keeping the quarterback on their toes. And where's 95? Okay, well, 95's over the guard. Well, wait a minute. Well, where's 99? 99's over on this. Wait, where's 54? Oh, wait a minute. Maurice Hurd. And just what they've been able to do with their nickel and dime personnel has just made quarterbacks' lives an absolute living hell to this point this season. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch this defense. And you hate to keep saying, and Jim Schwartz did say this when we found out, the fate of Deshaun Watson, and that is 2023. Look, it's kind of hard to ask these guys to do more, but they can ask themselves to do more. They can ask themselves to be the difference. They can be the ones who push, and they can be the ones that are trying here to go out week after week and make these scores for the opposing offense as low as possible and make these winnable and achievable games, especially now when you are working with a rookie quarterback who is going to make his first road start. And that obviously is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I know a lot of the experts, and I've seen it, obviously a lot of people think Denver's going to be able to pull this game off. I don't understand why the Browns aren't going to travel. I don't understand why this is not going to continue to succeed. I don't understand why the defense will not play well on the road. I think Cleveland Browns, I don't think it's going to be pretty. I wouldn't be betting any overs. But you tell me the Cleveland Browns find a way to win this game 19-16, 19-13. I think that is 110% the way this game is going to go. The Denver Broncos are playing better. I don't think the Denver Broncos are on the same level as the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns, this is a pivotal one. We talked about this game, maybe one other game that looks to be real difficult on the schedule. But the Cleveland Browns should be successful on Sunday in Denver against the Broncos. I am Jeff Lloyd. I am your host here at Locked On Browns. Now my 7th season with you all. It's been an absolute wild ride, and a ride I will never, ever forget. I enjoy every second of being here with you guys each and every day. No question about it. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. I appreciate everybody who makes me your first listen every single day. The show is always available, always free wherever you get your podcast. And for your second listen, I want you to check out Locked On Sports Today. It will come up immediately after this, 24/7, 365. Locked On Sports Today. We are just funneling all of our Locked On content, whatever sport it is. We're going to be funneling through that channel as well. And I've had a lot of people, a lot of great feedback where they just turn it on and it doesn't ever seem to go off. And that makes us here at Locked On feel oh so special. We all bust our butts to give you guys the best content we possibly can. And when we get positive feedback from all of you guys, it just makes us, puts us through the moon. It truly, truly does. We will talk to you all after the game Sunday. Browns, Broncos, 1 o'clock in Mile High. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.